Hello everyone, welcome to my online prep. Today we'll start with chapter 7, CEO and her or his team. In this chapter, we'll be learning about CEO, their roles and responsibilities, the responsibilities in talent management, executive and line managers, how succession planning is done, job family, the concept that is an integrated model for succession planning as well as talent management, and finally we will learn about human resource audit. So let us start with the first topic of today's session. In our daily lives, we learn about the success stories of the famous CEOs of the world like Elon Musk, Sundar Pichai, and Tim Cook. They have led the way, they have changed the whole scenario as to how the responsibilities of chief executive officers are seen today. If we see the traditional role, so their responsibility was to carry out the strategic plans and policies that are established by the board of directors. So it doesn't matter whatever the business is, be it a sole proprietorship, a partnership, etc. Here, the chief executive officer, they will set the direction and oversee the operations of an organization. This was the traditional role. So herein the chief executive officer has the role of leading the organization of carrying out the plans. But now the position of the managing director, that is the MD, is also being attached to the same executive, that is to the designation of the CEO. So now the managing director roles are also being assigned to the CEO. So this executive, that is, they will be holding now two roles. First role is the chief executive of the organization, which is an administrative function. Also, they will play the role of the managing director who directly report to the board of directors. So both the roles have been put into one, CEO as well as the MD. This will be the same executive officer and they'll be holding two roles. So the roles, or we can say the whole picture or expectations from the CEO has changed. The CEO is not only acting as the executive officer, they also need to lead their team, so they need to have a positive relationship with them. In this chapter, we'll be understanding how the roles and responsibilities of CEO has changed, how they work towards the betterment of the organization. So first, let us start with understanding their role. Earlier, there were four words that were used to describe the roles and responsibilities of CEO. That is, first is to plan, second is to organize, third is to coordinate, and fourth is to control. That is, the CEO plans, organizes, coordinates, and controls the different activities of the organization. But over the years, a number of researchers have shown that there are the work of managers, they are usually by carrying out the activities. Apart from that, specific examination of the behaviors, the time that they spend with their team has shown that these roles are changing. Now, first, the type of role that the CEO plays is the leader role, in which they describes the manager's interpersonal relationship with her or his own subordinates, the need to hire, train, and motivate them. So they are coordinating with them, they are acting as a leader. Second is the liaison role, which focuses on the manager's interpersonal dealing with the people outside of the organization. So in the leader role, they're leading their own employees or subordinates. In this role, they are working with the people outside of the organization. So they need to have a positive relationship with the suppliers, the agents, then dealers, even the government bodies. Next is the monitor role. They seek to receive information about the organization so that they can understand the environment thoroughly. And it actually does not stop here. They need to assess and monitor the company's performance continuously. As an entrepreneur, they take the responsibility for bringing out change or new ideas. They deal with strategic decisions, objectives, and priorities. As a resource allocator, they will decide what the firm, which department will get how much resources according to their roles, and then they will design the organization structure, who will do what, when, and the process. Then finally, we have the role of the negotiator. It makes the manager take charge whenever the firm enters into crucial negotiations. So other parties in the presence of CEO, it is important because they have the information and the authority to make the real-time negotiations possible. So we can say that in general, the duties and responsibilities, it can be to lead, to oversee, to ensure that the company is appropriately organized, expenditures of the company are within the budget, assess the principal risk, ensure the internal controls, and so on. So the roles and responsibilities are varied. One new role that is emerging is talent management. So what is the relationship between CEO and talent management? Talent management is the process by which an organization can identify, manage, and develop its people now and for the future. Talent comes from the human resources, so it is necessary how we will manage our human resource, how we will provide them training for their present and future roles. So it has a bias towards focusing on the individual needs as well as their potential for each of the employee, and also they should recognize the necessity of retaining the key personnel for a competitive labor market. So it is concerned with first developing a strategy to determine what the organization needs to meet the current as well as the future demands. What is needed, what the organization is lacking, how the organization be able to continue success in present as well as future. Accordingly, strategies developed. Second, establishing the processes to measure the competence that is required as well as available, the skills that are required to perform the specific task. Third is creating a range of developmental tools and processes to provide tailored approaches. Now, this focuses on the needs and capabilities of the employees. Accordingly, tailored approaches, workshops, training programs, these are designed. Identifying ways to obtain and retain those who are critical to access. Now, for this, monetary as well as non-monetary benefits work, establishing suitable approaches to deal with those who are no longer fit, how they can remove those people from the organization if they're just wasting the resources, and finally measuring the impact these strategies have so that the policy can be continually updated. Policy should be refined from time to time so as to deliver high performance now as well as in the future. So the mindset of talent management is based on the assumption that there is potential in each and everyone, and the approach should be to realize the maximum potential towards the benefit of the organization. There are certain key competencies in the organization. Aim is to identify them, retain them, as well as nurture them. So how talent management it differs from the role of HR. Talent management differs greatly from HR in the ways that we have discussed in the previous chapters about HR processes for hiring, training, retaining employees. So how they are different? First, where hiring, training and retention before were centralized in the HR department, with talent management, many of these duties are federated to the frontline managers actually leading the employees in question. Federated means that the roles or the authority has been divided now. Earlier, all these functions were concentrated, the authority was only with the HR department, but now the frontline managers are also involved in this process. They have direct contact with the employees, so they know what are the needs to develop their capabilities, how we can achieve the best performance, so that the frontline managers are also given the responsibility. Second, HR is more administrative focus. It focuses on the monetary benefits and the quantitative terms like pay, vacation days, benefits, complaints. But talent management is almost singularly focused on helping and improving the top talent in the organization. So it is more of a qualitative approach towards improving. Here, think professional development versus tracking attendance. Tracking attendance come under HR, and professional development will come under the function of talent management. So talent management has a qualitative approach. And then finally, talent management is strategic, often manifesting as a company-wide long-term plan that is closely associated with the overall business goals. On the other hand, HR is more tactical. It deals with the day-to-day management of the people. So a long-term approach comes under talent management, whereas HR will focus on the day-to-day management. So the management of the company's pool of talent is now too important to be left to just the function of HR, because it has become the responsibility of the top executive now. Thus, we are studying it under the role of CEO, and this is the main finding of many studies that are conducted in this format. So, talent management differs from HR. Now, what is the role of CEO in talent management? Talent management now features prominently on the CEO's agenda. Like we said, the roles and responsibilities of the CEO has changed, and they're focusing more on how talent management can be done. It is no longer a case where this function was only allotted to the HR department, but talent management is on the board agenda. It is a must have for the external stakeholders, but ensuring the CEO gets adequate strategic support. The CEO definitely has a positive attitude towards talent management today, but they would be able to get success in this area only if they get sufficient support, strategic support from all the departments, not just the board of directors, but also from the employees. So there should be a positive or a cordial relationship between these two. Next, the shift in the focus, it provides an opportunity for the HRs as well, so to get close to the CEO, and then they can be essential contributor at the board level as well. So the HR should work in conjunction with the CEO, not in isolation but rather together, coordinating their efforts. CEOs today spend substantial time in activities so that they can build leadership capability, but HR's role is to connect this in a coherent strategy that is based on the business needs. Now, various researches and studies have been conducted. It shows that executives, they spend 30%, more than 30% of their time on talent management. They engage in the developmental activities, also succession planning. There's a strong talent management leading ability in CEOs that is found today. So basically, we can say that talent management is becoming a more and more important part of CEO's role. The role of CEO can be made more clear by seeing the key features of talent management when it is led by the CEO. So talent management, it consists of many elements, starting from the performance evaluations conducted to identify potential, psychological tests and assessment centers are there to determine the capability gaps if any. Training and development programs are there to bridge these identified gaps. Relocations in case of regional problems, project work, and job experience is given to the individuals to accelerate their development. So basically, we can say that executives for talent management, they have various roles to play. CEOs, their role is to conduct the follow-up meetings. Earlier, their role was to conduct the follow-up meetings to see if the programs, the strategies are working, if their subordinates are getting enough training to improve on their weaknesses. HR used to advise on what programming is most appropriate from a range of options. So, good talent management is an all-round process. But earlier, traditionally, the domain of HR, this contained talent management, and the role of CEO was intermittent and distant. Like we said, only containing or conducting the follow up, collecting the feedback from the employees, seeing if the strategies work. But now, what has happened over the few years, there's an increased CEO involvement. This is because of two reasons. First reason is the shift in the focus towards intangible assets such as talent, and second is the increased broad scrutiny in relation to both ethics as well as performance. So the importance of intangible assets such as talent has increased, as well as scrutiny or compliance requirements in terms of ethics as well as performance has also increased. So now it is a strategic necessity for the executives. They should not only know about the latest developments, but they should also plot strategy, make plans. They should take own initiatives and regularly participate in the events that are related to talent management. So this is the key feature, how the CEO-led talent management has changed. Next, what is the role of executives and the line managers? What is an executive team? First, it is formed to achieve the specific strategic business objectives under a defined time frame. The objectives of the organization, these are decided accordingly. Plans or policies are made under which these objectives have to be achieved within a given time framework. And when the selection process is done correctly, the team members are chosen based on their individual abilities to contribute to achieving those objectives that are decided. So in the first few months of the team's life, the cohesiveness is low. They are still getting to know each other. The team is in early stages. There is much uncertainty. Later on, as they overcome their challenges, their uncertainties, and this anxiety, the team energies are concentrated on the future successes, not only of the team, but of the organization. So eventually, the team accomplishes its first major success, that is the strategic objective for which it was formed. And when the organization sees that the team is working effectively, they will also assign them future roles. So this strategic success marks the point at which the team is considered to be highly cohesive as well as highly effective. So team members, they learn from each other, they take successful actions together. Thus, it is necessary that there is a positive correlation and coordination among them. So executive team, this is important. Second, what is line management? It is a hierarchical chain of command that starts from the executive to the frontline level, a rather complex management structure in which the top management has total and direct authority, and the employees, they report to only one supervisor. So there's a line, there's a chain of command starting from the top to the bottom employees in the organization. So these structures are usually organized along the functional lines of the organizations, although they increasingly undertake a variety of cross-functional duties as well. So the lowest managerial level in the organization following a line management structure is the supervisory management. Basically, you need to understand that executive team members, they carry out the activities, and herein line management refers to the command. How command reaches, starts from the top and reaches the bottommost employees of the organization. Next topic is succession planning. One of the most important decisions of any business is how they are going to lead it forward. Only establishing a business is not enough. We need to have a succession plan in our mind. Biggest example is in India, because most of the businesses in India are family owned. They are passed on from one generation to another. For example, the Aditya Birla Group, a new chairman is put in place in need of the old guard, bringing in professional managers to take charge. So business owners, they list the adequate succession plan for their future of the organization. Giving a formal definition, succession planning is the process for identifying and developing the new leaders who can replace the old leaders when they leave, retire, or die. So, in the lifetime of the leader who is currently in the organization, they need to have a plan. After them, who is going to work in the organization, who is going to take it forward. So, in business, it entails the development of internal people that are potential. They have the potential to fill the key business leadership positions in the company. So succession planning and management, these are essential component of the broader human resources planning process. These are a part of human resource planning. We are planning for the future, who is going to lead the company forward. So it involves an integrated systematic approach for identifying, developing, and retaining the capable and skilled employees in line with the current and projected business objectives. So succession planning, it is an end-to-end exercise, and there are certain steps that have to be followed, under which first step is to identify the key areas and positions. These are those positions that are critical or important to the organization's operational activities and strategic objectives. So we need to identify which positions, if they are left vacant even for a small time, it would be very difficult to achieve the current and future business goals. And it would be some positions, if they left vacant, it could be detrimental. So accordingly, we need to determine which are critical or priority based positions. Second step is to identify the capabilities for the key areas. When we have identified the critical areas, we also need to find out what is the relevant knowledge, skills, abilities, and competencies that are needed to achieve the business goals. Now, this differs from one business to another. Okay, so herein we need to identify the relevant knowledge, the key leadership competency profiles, and we need to inform the employees about the same. After that, third step is to identify the interested employees and assess them against capabilities. Employees who are interested for the vacant position, and we need to assess them if they have the required capabilities or not, if they have the potential to fill the key areas for the current as well as future role. Fourth step, develop and implement the succession and knowledge transfer plans. This is done by incorporating the strategies for learning, training, development, and transfer of the corporate knowledge into the succession planning and management. So, we need to define these processes, link the employees' learning plans and abilities that are required for the current as well as future roles, and we need to discuss with the employees. And finally, we have fifth step, that is evaluate the effectiveness. We need to monitor the succession planning as well as management efforts. We need to see if the key positions are filled quickly and effectively, members of the designated groups are adequately represented, and so on. So these are the five steps. This is the planning process of succession. So the succession planning that requires the transition from one senior executive to another, it can be either a smooth, productive process, or altogether it can be a very bumpy ride for all the people concerned in the organization. Particularly, this is true for the CEO positions. From a simple retirement to a surprise departure, if the process is not undertaken with due diligence, it can lead to problems for the present workers. So it is important that these transitions, they leave all the concerned with a positive feeling about the people as well as the company, or we can see a situation of major flight from the organization. So facilitating these transitions requires considerable expertise. Some points can be kept in mind. First, every organization is different, even within the same industry or segment. So good transitions are tailored to suit the distinctive culture, structure, priorities, and personality of the organization. What is the environment? Are the people, they are quadly working or they are working in isolation? So how the outgoing executors are treated and how they respond to the transition period, coaching, rehearsals, all of these things will be helpful for both incoming as well as the outgoing executors. Second, employees at all the levels, but certainly most importantly at the senior management level, they need to be prepared for the inquisitiveness of the new executives. They need to understand, they need to design and orchestrate a series of orientation sessions with the new executives. They should be properly planned, and these group orientation sessions could be these could be an efficient means of sharing information. Third could be to work with the new executives to develop and publish a communications plan. This can be done for first 60 to 90 days so that everyone knows roughly what to expect from the new executives. Some seniors that have a long experience can share their history as well as take the CEO through the major landmarks in the organization. And finally, the upcoming executive should produce an organization assessment and proposed action plan. A board would expect this within the 3 to 6 months, depending upon the organization sign. It can be actually a primary vehicle for initial strategic discussion between the CEO and the board. Following these steps, the succession can or the transition can actually be very productive. So, like we said, the businesses or the organizations, they differ from one another. Similarly, the methods that they use or incorporate may also vary. Most successful programs include the top management, full involvement, as well as commitment towards the process. Also, a high level review of the succession plans, formal performance, and potential assessment, as well as written development plans for the individuals. So a successful, or we can say a typical succession planning, involves certain activities. First, analysis of the demand for managers and professionals. Then second, audit is conducted for the existing executors, future likely supply from the internal sources. Third is to individual career path planning. Fourth, career counseling is conducted. Fifth is accelerated promotions. Sixth, periodical evaluation of performance of the incumbent, then performance related training and development, and then finally strategic recruitment for filling in gaps at top. So even when the strategies that are developed for the organization, they vary from one individual organization to another. These are some common activities that are conducted by all of the organizations. So this is how succession planning is conducted, its importance, why it is required in the organization, as well as the method that will be used. Next topic is job planning. It is used as an integrated model for sustained succession planning as well as talent management. So we have discussed that planning and implementing a sustained succession plan is the organization's responsibility. It can be very vital as well as challenging due to a variety of issues which are confronting the HR department. Of late, increasingly, it has been realized that an effective succession cannot be a successful HR effort unless specialization of each and every role function is involved. That is, commitment has to be there from each and every department. Therefore, there's a felt need to develop a succession in the key job roles in a way that the organizations can get the highest benefit. So, for this, a model has been developed that is known as job planning. Job planning is a grouping of jobs that have similar characteristics. That is, a family is created, a group is created of the job roles that have similar characteristics, roles that are similar in nature, the work that is done utilizing a similar skill set, but they require differing levels and specializations of skill, effort, or responsibility. So the skill is same, but the roles will require different levels. One could require higher knowledge integration, second lower than that. So, but knowledge is required, skill is required. They will be grouped under one family. So this is known as job family. Typically focuses, for example, role of accountant, then there's the payroll specialist. Both work in the finance as well as business family. So these are different roles, but they come under the finance and business family. They typically focus on the common competencies and knowledges. So they represent distinct occupational or functional groups. This concept establishes the organization's functional groups differently from each other in terms of the career path as well as the development needs. In private organizations, such job family concept is also related to the different compensation structure. It will determine compensation structures, they remain equal to the cadre scale that is linked to a particular role. So scale in which the individual is placed will get the same compensation. Resultantly, banks also work in this criteria. So the job families can produce a common language that allows discussion on career management critically, that will distinguish one occupation or function from another. This can help the development within the family as well as in the view of some organizations. It also helps the interdepartmental moves as well. So there's an integration between recruitment selection as well as their development. Job families, they offer this common approach that can be used to describe the supply as well as the demand of the individuals for the key competencies. So this is how the job planning can work. Now let us see the job family framework. What are its key characteristics? So job family framework is a structure that the groups are created according to the nature of the work rather than the job title or the hierarchy. It enables the organizations to identify the roles that perform the similar work, that require the similar skills or competencies. Now the key characteristics of the job family will include the number of job families. Typically, any organization can employ a maximum of 15 to 20 job families. This will depend upon the nature of the business as well as the purpose of the job families and the roles that are assigned to them. Second, career progression. The job families will allow employees to more easily identify the related positions across the organization. It can enhance the employee's ability to move across the job functions. That is, they have the skills required for more than one role, so they can move across the functionalities. Third, job family clearly differentiates from other functions. So this concept ensures that each job differentiates from other jobs or roles within which are outside the job families. The characteristic or trait similarity in each role of job family. So they have identical characteristics or traits. They have the same level of knowledge, skills and competencies in the career hierarchy. And finally, it improves talents and creativity. Now here, since the employees are posted in such job families or groups, they continue to function in the job. So the job family framework enhances their creativity and builds a healthy talent pipeline. So these are the chief characteristics of job family framework. As discussed above, the concept of job family is also increasingly entering the banking industry. So, considering the fact that the job roles that are assigned across the industry are almost similar, and also they are looking to the areas of key talents and core business matrices. So, there are a list of the business or administrative areas where the concept of job family can be introduced in banks. First, for risk management, wealth management, information technology and data analytics, agriculture, finance or credit, developmental HRM, treasury and forex management, accounts management, and marketing and sales. These are only some of the areas where job family can be used. That is, banks, they can create groups regarding areas such as law, taxation, etc. There can be core specialized areas as well. So this concept, it might not result in the desired results, but here specialized categories can be used. Specialized category officers, they have a distinct career policy for them in almost all the banks. Hence, the bank should have a hybrid model. They should not exactly follow the models being followed by the private organizations. They should use a hybrid model of succession and talent management through more job families that are consisting with a less number of specialist cadres. So specialist cadres should not be included in these job families. So job family is emerging as a new and effective alternative model for sustained succession, and it is a much needed, promising method that will provide benefits to the organization, also to the concerned individuals. Next topic is human resource audit. Human resource audit is actually a tool that is used for evaluating the personal activities of an organization. So it is an overall quality control tool, a quality control check on the HR activities in a division or a company, and an evaluation as to how these activities are supporting the organization strategy. So regardless of the type or nature of the organization, the size of the organization or the department, a comprehensive tool to assess the HR effectiveness is important. So this audit for the HR effectiveness, it has four main steps. First is to define the desired HR practices for the organization. Second is to assess the current practices against the criteria that has been established. Third is analyzing the results. And fourth is establishing the improvement goals and then to take action. So we need to identify, we need to define what are the expected practices. The benchmarks are set. Then we need to assess and analyze the current practices. Are they in sequence? Are they working according to the benchmark? We need to analyze the result, suggest improvements, and take action. So this simple four-step approach can be repeated as the annual planning and goal setting process occurs, and progress can be measured against the goals, and a continuous improvement cycle naturally unfolds. So this step can be used for the effectiveness analysis of the effectiveness of HR in the organization. It has certain objectives The HR audit can serve any of the following purposes. It can be used to clarify the desired practices of the HR work and roles within the organization, the HR department, the line managers. So the benchmarks are set as to what is expected of the roles. Second, it can be used to evaluate the current effectiveness and establish a baseline for future improvement. Are the current practices worth, are they actually working towards the achievement of goals, or they need to improve for the future? Third, to standardize the practices across multiple sites within division or company. Fourth is to assess the current knowledge and skills that are required. And fifth is to improve performance levels for the key customers within the organization. So these are the various reasons, these are the various purposes for which HR audit can be conducted. Also, it has several benefits. These benefits can range from identification of the contributors of the HR department, the key stakeholders or the key performers are identified, improvement of the professional image. We can identify what gaps are there and steps can be taken to improve them. Encouragement of greater responsibility and professionalism, that is, when expectations are set we can work according to that, and a culture or environment can be created that encourages greater responsibility. Clarification of the HR department's duties and responsibilities, bringing in uniformity in the policies and practices in all the divisions or departments of the organizations as well as the different sites. Installing HR best practices in the organization, the international best practices can be used. Ensuring the time compliance with legal requirements, and finally reduction of the HR costs through more effective personal procedures. So these are the benefits of conducting HR audit from time to time. The audit process in any organization can start with first defining the audit statement. Definition of the desired HR practices can occur through a variety of ways. A first step could be to take some time and reflect on the requirements, the legal requirements that have been set from the authorities and the programs that the departments must administer. So first we need to take in terms these requirements. Second, consider the areas of responsibilities and the traditional HR practices. It can include planning, staffing, performance management, employee relations, etc. So these are the traditional practices. And then surveys, communication. Finally, other areas to be considered are the company initiatives that the HR may be required to support, such as the TQM initiative, introduction of new initiatives, specialized training, etc. With this in hand, a statement can be written about each major practice that needs to be defined. And typically, they are stated in the present tense and in a positive manner. For example, the staffing process is documented so that the responsibility of each and every person is clear and understood. How the performance appraisals will work in the future. There is a trainer program. So all of these functions are stated in this. So regardless of the number, what is being developed is a description of the level as well as the quality of the performance that is desired from the human resource function. So this is the first step. Second step requires assessment of the current practices. When the list of statements have been completed, we need to assess the current practices. We need to analyze the demands, looking for evidence that will support or refute each statement that is made. Evidence can be collected from the policies and procedures, output from the employee surveys, interviews with the key customers, data collection. So we need to see whether or not each of the functions is working according to the previous plan. So assessment of the current practices is done. After assessment, step is to analyze the results. It is important to recognize the strengths and opportunities. So the results are reviewed. Teams will manage the specific HR areas. For example, why one company may be very strong in the administrative function or the managing function, it may need improvement in developing the higher level systems definition. Another company could be strong in the safety, training and security, but they need improvement in the communication principles. These are example. Reviewing the data in a variety of perspectives, it can help us to formulate a picture of the overall HR performance. So in summary, the purpose of analysis is to sort through the areas of the strengths as well as the areas of the opportunities for the improvement in order to take positive action steps so as to improve the HR function. And then the final step is to establish the improvement goals and take action. The ideal time to do so is just prior to the annual planning process. Before the planning process for the next year, we can identify the areas that need more improvement and more focus. So the audit information in hand can be used as an advantage when setting the next year's goals. So there are two aspects of setting the goals. First is maintenance of the current good practices, and second is to develop the improved practices. First, we need to identify the good practices and we need to make sure that they are maintained in the future. Second is to develop the practices that have to be improved. Knowing the capacity as well as the capability of the HR department and system is critical if we want to develop a realistic plan for the future. Herein, good practices need to become a part of the HR system so that they can occur in a reliable and predictable fashion. And once a process or program has reached that level, then future development can affect more effectively. With little discretionary time available, it is prudent to review the analysis of these steps that are done, which will decide one or two areas that can provide the greater overall performance improvement in the HR function, its customers, as well as the organization. These areas will help us set the goals for the next year. Now, some examples of the improved HR measures that have occurred because of using the audit process. First, there's a development and sharing of total compensation philosophy, time reduction for filing the open positions, better control over the employee turnover rate, percentage of the current employees that are trained, reduction in the response time, prompt action is taken on the employee engagement, succession or replacement planning, and HR's contribution to business skills. These are some of the examples that the organizations have seen where audit process has helped improve the HR measures. So the HR audit can be a powerful leverage of change for the HR department as well as the organization. And the audit is enriching itself as time passes with the changing demands and requirements of the environment as well as the higher performance expectations. So the HR professionals, they take an active state of defining their direction, making sense of their choices as well as trying to improve their capabilities. That's all. In this unit, we have understood the role of the CEO, their responsibility for talent management, and the executive team. We have also understood how to measure the effectiveness of the HRD through the human resource audit. With this, we have come to the end of this lesson. Keep learning with us. Thank you.